Back in the spring, Ryan Day told Ohio State, from people that we talked to, told his players that going back, looking at the things that had decided the game over the years, one of the things that won was, no surprise, winning in the trenches, controlling the line of scrimmage. Today he was asked, what's your level of confidence that this offensive line can do that? And he talked about sort of the steady progress that he's seen all season to get them to the point where they can handle a matchup of this magnitude. Steven, where, as an observer of this team, where does your confidence level in whether this offensive line is up to the challenge?
I think I agree with him. I agree with what Ryan Day had to say about it, and I agree with what Kyle McCord had to say about it. You were asking him about some of that stuff. Josh Simmons has grown. Early in the year, there were times where they would have a good play, and then they'd be called back because Josh Simmons would get a penalty. There would be times in the season where Donovan Jackson didn't look like the guy who was a five-star recruit coming in here. He's starting to look like that. Matthew Jones, Kyle McCord called him the big brother of the group. He has been probably the most steady of the five starters, but he's been just – and he had a little hiccup against Minnesota last weekend, but it looked fine, and we're expecting him to play. Josh Fryer's had his fair share of mistakes, but for the most part, he's been pretty consistent as well. The only question is Carson Hinzman to a T, and some of that is because he's the youngest guy, but it's also because Michigan's strength on the defensive line is in the interior, where they got 4 or 5 guys that can all be a problem. But things are trending in the right direction, and this offensive line and this offense as a whole is starting to peak at the right time, especially in the run game.
You know, offensive line cohesiveness is a thing in football. It's like not just people have done studies. Like the longer an offensive line plays together, you'll see exponentially better results. Do you think that's sort of what's happening right now, Andrew, with this line? Because Kyle McCord today was talking about, people early on this season they weren't meshing yet. They weren't connected yet. They hadn't played with each other yet for very long. I mean, Josh Simmons didn't get here until the summer. It had only been a few weeks in some cases that they played together, and now they're playing the season opener. Are you seeing the benefits of cohesiveness right now for this team?
I think so. And one of the things that Ryan said that I thought was really true was that you're seeing individual growth, and then you're seeing growth as a team and as a unit. And I think that that's really true, because think back to where we were at the Indiana game. You have just complete miscues in the run game where you just we would look at it in the press box immediately, and we saw it, and immediately the fans saw it. And there are a lot of things that coaches will hone in on during the week, and little things that can only kind of be deciphered when you really study the film and you really know what's going on. But there were just glaring mistakes that we would kind of point to each other in the first couple of weeks, especially that Indiana game, going like, what? That was really tough. That was really bad. And compare that to where you were then and where you are now. I know you have Travion Henderson back, and I know you kind of have that explosive back out of the backfield that can hit home runs, but you're not seeing those errors, and you're actually starting to see the run game kind of evolve into something. If you can't rely on, Ohio State, probably isn't going to be the team to run 35 times and, run for 6 yards a carry and just run the ball to death to win, but you're seeing a reliable outfit from that offensive line, and I think that that's really all you need right now. I don't think you need to be this run grading, we're going to win the Joe Moore Award every year type of offensive line. I just think you need to be good enough, because you've got a quarterback that, when he has time, can make some good throws. He does kind of dance with the turnover devil a little bit, but outside of that, you've got great receivers, you've got a running back that can hit home runs, and if the offensive line can just stay on this progression that they've been on, you have to feel really good about where Ohio State's offense is at.
The thing underlying all of that is the defensive play of this team. If this was like last year, and you were matching it up with, if you're comparing this offensive line with that defense, and you thought Ohio State had to go in and win a shootout, I don't think they could. I think people are going to pick Ohio State to win this game, a decent number of people, because they know that this defense is going to keep the score at a place where this offense and this offensive line can get them to where they can win it in the fourth quarter. We're going to talk a lot more about that on Buckeye Talk. Get it wherever you can find podcasts, and get the text 614-350-3315. News, analysis, commentary every day heading through the game.